Live with Crypto Talk now. Glad to be here. Had to start just a slightly bit or a slight amount later than usual. But nonetheless, really glad to be here. We're going to go ahead and wait for a few people to go ahead and file in before we kick things into what's going on with the overall market, as well as some of the other news that we'd like to share with you guys, for instance. So, um, before we get more into it, let's go ahead and recognize a few people. Starting off with Larry. He says, "Go Max. Thank you so much. Hopefully everything's going well with you and things you got going on today." Calvin technically is the first comment. He states, "Your bear/bull meme cracked me up. So true, yet only time will tell." Thanks. I happened to see that at random, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna implement that into a thumbnail. Thought it looked really, really cool. Glad you guys got a kick out of that. Tim Shea, who says, "Hey," because that's just basically what he does. It's like his slogan. He needs to do it, and he is. Good to see you, Tim. Briltony, Chill with Cat. Thanks for joining us, Briltony. Everyone's welcome each other. There's Mr. Lambo's Crypto Talk. What's up, CTN fam? Hello to you too, sir. Good to have you here tonight. And of course, Mr. XXI Gaming. He's on fire. He wants to see things go to the moon. He is like thinking it's going to happen 100%. All right. You guys welcome each other. Great stuff. Great community. Mr. Salamander in space. The XDC commander says hello to everybody. Good to see you, Salamander. A few more people, of course, coming in. And good. XXI basically is stating that he is getting into quant in the next crash. Max, okay, right on. P.S. I got me some XRP today. Let's go. Yeah, you know what? Some people are like, well, it was a few cents under the other day. Well, it's called sometimes you just gotta wait maybe to get paid. Like I got paid one day early. For whatever reason, maybe because it's Veterans Day tomorrow. By the way, shout out to all the veterans, for real. Like, my thing is, how about this? The World War II veterans. You happen to see that random World War II vet in line or whatever at the grocery store? I don't know about you guys, but I'm taking the time to thank them because sad to say that generation is starting to pass on. And, I did the math on it the other day. So if you're a person, for instance, that served like during the Normandy invasion and whatnot, right? So 1944, okay. And if you're at least 18, don't get me wrong, some of those guys lied their age and so on, and like, wow, that was something in itself, right? So I believe it's like 96 years old, 97 years, 96 years old. So you're at least 96 years old, like, or actually maybe it's 98. Anyways, it's anywhere from 96 to 98 if you're at least 18. 18. Not to mention all the guys who were serving when they're in their 20s and their early, right? That'd be, up into the hundreds. I'm telling you, take the time to thank those that definitely served in, let's face it, one of the most definitive moments in our history. I know I am. If I happen to see one, you better believe it. All right. Tim Shea states he got his today too, Max. Right on. Yeah, I noticed on the payroll thing that, it came out today. I said to myself, okay, a day early. I was usually, it's like Friday. You get every other week we get paid. I didn't mean to skip over that. Salamander, the best generation was the World War II vets. Yep, absolutely. My dad, it would have been Korea for him. So when he served for 8 years. It was in the Air National Guard, but they actually got activated to go. And I remember one thing, my grandma was telling me and so on. And of course, she was praying for my dad, and so on. My dad wasn't necessarily afraid of facing the North Koreans or the Chinese. His biggest fear was just simply freezing to death. And then what happened last minute, go figure, right? Maybe I wouldn't even be here if something would have happened to him. So yeah, they got activated to go, and then last minute, they got pulled out for the activation, and the war basically came to end, as you guys know, the stalemate and so on. So, it's kind of crazy how things transpire, but yeah, you just never know and so on. And then by the time Vietnam came, I think he was like, I don't know, considered too old for that. So he didn't get drafted for that. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. My grandma mentioned all that. And then on top of that, as far as World War II, my dad had two cousins that served in World War II, cousins Bob and cousins Frank. And they basically helped liberate, believe it or not, a couple, Nazi concentration camps for, with the Jews and so on. So it was a very proud moment and so on to be able to hear about those particular things. And then another thing, they even re-solidified, if you will, for instance, Eisenhower, when he went through there and so on, he basically said, hey, let's all take some pictures, if not do some, get some actual video or film is what they referred to it back then, of what happened here. Because, pardon this expression, this is a quote, because like he said, because someday some bastard is going to say that this never happened, and you think about a lot of Holocaust deniers, they're out in the world. It's a shame to basically hear that. Anyway, let me go back to this. Yeah, back on topic. Yeah, me too. I got paid earlier and got in at 35 cents. I had to get it through Uphold. Heard good things about Uphold. I have not used it, but a lot of you guys use it. And I have not heard a single negative thing about it. Really, I haven't. All right. Bitcoin BMW says howdy to me. Good to see you, sir. Semper Fidelis. Yep, right back at you. Salamander, the XDC commander. Best fight D-Day. Yeah, and everything that's transpired after that. I mean, was it, D-Day plus 1, 2, quite a few battles after that. I mean, shoot, man. I mean, even skirmishes and whatnot, right? Like Carrington and, was it Bocage and just countless other ones, right? So hey, Bitcoin BW, yep, you guys are welcome each other. This is good. We might have kind of a weird day for attendance today, and that's okay. Can't thank you guys enough for being here. Tim Chase also added XRP to his bag today, right on. And you got some GBEX. I can't remember, where did you get your GBEX? Was it through LBank? And if so, how is that experience through LBank? If you don't mind sharing that, because I have not. I haven't dealt with LBank before and so on, but I could have swore you said that you got some on LBank. If not, then I have you confused with somebody else. You also got some XSwap. Okay. Also got some on XSwap. I apologize. All right, Salamander. I feel sad on homeless vets. Yeah, it breaks your heart to see that type of thing. And yes, it's just it really, really is, because it just kind of feels like, not to make everything super political, but let's face it. I mean, it's like we have programs in place, or how about this? People always talking about, like, for instance, helping people overseas. And don't get me wrong, like I legitimately, I've helped people overseas, with charity and donation and so on in the past, especially like when I do tithing or take them out for a charitable cause I believe in, so on. But when I also see that, like, I feel like, wow, a lot of people were getting on board for this. Why don't we take at least a portion of this and help those here at home who help us, right, by serving? So I don't know. It's really, really sad. I totally agree with that. XXI is gonna check that out. How about Mr. Montclair, Michael Montclair? His dad went to Arctic Circle with Admiral Byrd on Black Ops. He never told me for 40 years. And then finally he told about all kinds of crazy alien aircraft taking off. Well, you know what? Let's face it. Years ago, it seemed like if anybody, especially back in the 90s and 80s and so on, when people would mention things about, the whole thing with aliens, it kind of seemed unpopular. And if anything, some people, it's not all people, but some people, let's face it, or a majority of them, right, kind of hopped on the bandwagon that, you're kind of nutty, blah, 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 right? Then we see all these crazy things. Technically, like was it the instead of unidentified flying, said UFOs, they're called UFPs or whatever, phenomena. Anyway, I don't know if you guys seen the whole thing with 60 Minutes and interviewing those Navy pilots, and it's just like they're performing, maneuvers that is just nowhere there. And then there was that recent thing that basically came out. I saw it literally on MSN.com. It was just like, yeah, government confirms that these are just drones from China and Russia. Sure. So you're backtracking, going back to the old school. We don't want the overall public to panic. Let's go ahead and report that. That's just what it is. I'm just saying, I don't know what's out there either, just like the next guy. But when we see actual videos now and pilots who actually did serve, right? Navy pilots, and it's on video, and they're doing these crazy, crazy maneuvers. Oh man, I don't know. And then how about this, right? Just real quick. I know it's crypto talk now. I'll just state this. Because we don't really have like a lot of people here right now anyway. But how about this? Planet Earth, right? You look at, have you looked at the scales of like different stars? Like our sun is technically a star, and look at like there's was it the Sirius star or whatever? Anyway, they're huge in comparison to us, and then there's ones that are even like trillions the size of that, way out there. The universe is infinite. There's multiple galaxies, so on and so forth, right? And so to think that out of that whole universe that it's just us. And don't get me wrong, I'm a Christian person, right? But it does make me think, like, that's a lot of space and a lot of infinite space, and we're just a little tiny speck of that in all of it. I don't know. All right. Michael Montclair, people saying hello to you. That's great. Tim Shea. Okay, some clarification on it. You got yours on GBEX. Or you got, that don't even make sense. You got your GBEX on XSwap on Bitmart. Okay. I did see that GBEX was listed on Bitmart, but I just, even though I have quite a few of my portfolio on Bitmart, they're like garbage meme tokens. Like, hate to FUD somebody's, Luffy, whatever you want to call it. I've heard from kids who are into that, that it's called Luffy. And then I heard from other people, just like us and so on, it was like, no, it's Luffy. So tomato, right? Salmatter. I saw a documentary on vets who served our country deported to Tijuana, Mexico. Huh. Well, I'll be darned. You might be wondering why I keep saying Mexico. I live in Arizona, and let's face it, all the people from over the border and so on who come on, and they usually pronounce it that way. So Mexico, tomato. Anyway. Tim Shea says he hasn't used LBank. Okay, you went to sign up for BitTrue, but they say they don't serve the U.S. residents. Yeah, and then it's just like Bitmart, right? Think about how many people got into Bitmart because of the super attractive staking, right? Especially with ApeCoin, like 150% and so on. So, it was like I was telling my buddy, he's Mexican. And his family, I mean, he was born here. Actually, he was born in Tucson, Arizona, which is, 175 miles south of Phoenix. And he was telling me, he's like, or I was telling him, I should say, I was just like, man, with all your, Mexican heritage or so on, with all your family down there, I'm like, take advantage of some of the staking that you could, they could sign up for it, do a KYC, at least have them do it. I mean, I get it. Other people do the whole thing with, VPNs, proxies, you name it, but they're getting a lot more strict when it comes to, your actual government ID and verifying that and having you hold it up and then write out a code, then your signature. You guys been through it. Salamander, I saw the TikTok UFOs or UFPs or whatever you call it. Yeah, it's crazy. Hello, Elaine. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. She says hello to everyone. I even showed her. I showed Elaine that whole thing that happened. She thought it was crazy too, right? With the UFPs and whatnot. There's another article. You know what? I don't know. Maybe I'll bring it up some other time. But I see more people coming here. But yeah, I saw one was Main Street, right? And it was talking about some guy that was, I don't know, man, just crazy things. Just he was stating that he was from like the year 3000 or something. I'm like, I don't even know. Um, yeah, it's just it's getting kind of being, it's a nutty conversation. But then when you see things recorded, then you're like, is it really nutty, or is it just like this is becoming reality? Michael Montclair, I got a great deal of SWFTC coin this morning. All right, you want to elaborate on that? And what was the main takeaway of that particular one? I'm not aware of that particular one, so let me know why you got into that. Community, of course, would like to hear. All right, it's all about sharing coins, tokens, different projects. Brilton saying hello to Elaine. Thank you guys for that. Chris Toby, what an awesome main picture for the heading. Thanks so much, Chris. With that said, we're going to go ahead and by the way, stop me where I'm at. Chris, haven't seen you here before. I already see that you have a custom avatar of yourself. By the way, thanks for making CTN the place that you decided to drop in tonight. Really appreciate it. And you guys, if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and welcome Chris Toby. Any questions or comments you have, we have a very welcoming community here. And don't feel bashful. If you have to be a new investor, hey, no problem. If you have to be a seasoned veteran investor, or how about this, or even a veteran, right? It's Veterans Day tomorrow. Go ahead and just drop whatever comments or questions you have. Nobody's going to bite your head off here. We're very, very welcoming. But yes, Chris, Toby, everybody, go ahead and welcome you. Thanks again for being here. You guys just saying hello to each other. And how about this? Tim Shea said hello to you, Chris. Michael Montclair, yeah. Look up Admiral Byrd. It's crazy. Right on. I know it sounds crazy. You always have that one relative, or how about this? Not one relative. You ever go to like a dinner party, or just any party in general, or how at work? There's always that random person that makes that claim. Well, I'm secretly related to Queen Elizabeth, and it's just like, no, you're not. Well, people kind of take pause when I mention this. Admiral Perry is credited as one of the people who discovered the North Pole. My dad's sister, technically my aunt, we have Perry lineage, and of course, I guess in her picture albums and so on, they kept a lot of just that showing the documentation about Admiral Perry. So I don't even know where I'm at. I don't even know. I've heard that he's supposed to be like my, what's it, great grandfather or something like that. But I don't even know if it's that. Maybe it's like great uncle. But yeah, I come from the Perrys, so he's credited as the guy who discovered the North Pole. So take it as you will. What does that do for me? Absolutely nothing. All right, let's go ahead and kick things into the actual show. We wanted to start roughly about 10 minutes ago, waiting for people to kind of follow in. So based on that mark till now, it is probably about 10 minutes. All right, let's go ahead and share what's going on with the crazy market today and so on. Is this basically a relief rally, a bear market relief rally like you saw in the title with the thumbnail and so on? Or is it basically a fake out? Right? That's the bottom line. And we've seen plenty of these particular fake outs and so on. But let's go ahead and share this first. I tend to like going straight to some of the articles as of recently, just to kind of kick things in. But I do want us to at least bring our attention to some of this. Here's the thing, right? You saw, for instance, CZ and Binance saying, do not buy into the FTT token from FTX and so on. And I'm not going to be the type of person that like Rich from Common Sense Crypto point out, rooting for extreme crashes on exchanges. He's right. Why would you want to root for that? One of his recent videos basically covers that. Why would you want to root for that? That's bad for crypto. You want to root for the exchanges to do well and so on. These are people's hard-earned money. But I want to point this out, of course, it's still trending. and that is the FTX token and so on. You know, we saw this go way, way down further than this. I think it was like in the early 210s, maybe 220s, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 214 in the last 24 hours. So, I mean, even to 279, I mean, technically people, I mean, can they swing trade this? I mean, or all exchanges are shutting it down? I imagine people are still getting through it somehow, right? But I don't know. I wanted to point that out because we have consistently seen distressed assets be just what end up being pretty decent swing trades. Hence VGX. I got into it 40 cents. And then all the way up to $1.04, and I swapped that for basically Luna Classic. You guys may have chose to hold it even longer. Whatever the case be, you recognize the opportunity. And then for anybody, if anybody wants to say, well, I should say anybody, there's people out there. This is nuts, right? People out there basically stating, you know, pointing this stuff out, basically stating, you know what, real bad what's going on with FTX. Shame on people for getting into it, or shame on people who got into VGX. You know, yeah, it's distressed, but you know, you taking advantage of that opportunity. I even heard one nutty comment saying that is blood money. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then I go more into it, and I'm like, seriously? I'm not going to name the particular person because my attitude is I don't want to bash influencers and so on. But at the same time, this person was covering Luna Classic like crazy. So you're going to cover this, say that this is blood money, and then you're just going to turn a blind eye from what happened with Luna Classic. That makes no sense to me. The whole point is, for instance, there are people who, yes, got completely destroyed on the likes of Luna before it was called Luna Classic, right? And then even got back in because they didn't want to see that, or they wanted to see the thing become a phoenix that rises from ashes. I'm not talking about the 2.0. I'm talking about, you know, just that Luna Classic. So it makes no sense to me when I see comments like that, whether it's on a live video or a recording and so on. It's just like, you don't get to pick and choose, you know, that was distressed as well. Look at the differences, the community. But anyway, I know I'm going on a tangent with that, but I just wanted to point that out. A little bit more in regards to all this. You know, you see that Solana is still trending. Of course, FTX. I imagine Binance is still basically trending. Yeah, it dropped down to number 5, but you know, I was kind of wondering what was going on with that as well. But you know, if anything, it's definitely worth noticing to recognize what's going on in the market in that regard. All right, and top 100. Basically, you know, you see, for instance, this particular one on the 1 hour, nothing big, right? It is part of the 24-hour doing big things on XCN, which is chain. You know, in the top 50. All right, let's check out what's going on in the top 100 on the 24-hour chart. My Chili's, it's up 33.62%. My attitude was, yeah, you know, people point out, Max, you could have got it for a lot cheaper. I know. I should have gotten the Chili's when I put that notice out originally. At 9.5 cents, something slightly under 10, right? But I'm cool with that. I still feel as though that I needed to prepare, because don't get me wrong, I was into Chili's a little bit last year, 2021. And on top of that, I ended up getting off a Coinbase at the time. So first I got rewarded with it for answering some of that stuff. And then I, of course, ended up getting some. Again, I was way back then. But I decided myself, like I mentioned to you guys, originally at the 9.5 cents, you know, this was definitely one in which I saw going on the upside. It did go there, you know, end up being a great pick, let's face it, for this crazy year 2022 with the bear winter and so on. But it's just that if you haven't looked more into it and you happen to be a newcomer here, I'll give you the quick gist of it. Chili's is literally the ESPN of crypto. And it used to be before from a international point of view, right? But now you're starting to see things even here in the United States a little bit more about with Chili's, which is great. Chili's combined with the likes of having Algo in your portfolio. Again, Algorand is a premier partner with FIFA. And of course, with the World Cup coming up, there's going to be so much exposure to the likes of Chili's and Algorand I definitely see these doing very well. Again, it's not official financial advice to you, but these are some of the personal plays that I'm doing. And the way I look at it is, um, I'm kind of up on the air about maybe selling at least half of my bag of chilies when this all happens. And the same concept with, for instance, my algo, because with algo, again, that's tied into ISO 222. So it's kind of a combination of both. Obviously, chilies isn't, but I do want to have at least one real nice one of a perfect case of buy the rumor, sell the news. How about buy the rumor, sell the news on the World Cup? All right, going a little bit further down, Polygon's Matic, right? It's up about 27%. I hold, of course, a position in that. I should have DCA'd more into that. A lot of you guys did, and hats off to you for doing so. Let's face it, guys, Polygon has definitely been one of the premier standout ones in this bear market, doing tons of things where it comes to, for instance, what they did with partnership with Disney, for crying out loud. And then on top of that, Starbucks, positive catalysts literally are flowing for quite a while during all of last summer, and even at random here and there. Not so much as in like recently within the last week or two, but I would definitely say between last summer and then probably up to about maybe 2 weeks ago and so on, they've really been killing it. Some of these other ones, as you know, Solana's trending. Use extreme volatility, you use extreme discretion when it comes to Solana. Yeah, it's up and so on, but I don't know about that particular one. Maybe, who would have thought Solana swing trading? That was supposed to be a hodl, right? Another one I want to point out, Kava, believe it or not, my friend is into this. I did see, for instance, that this has gone up about 16% and so on. It's been interesting to see this fluctuate as of recently. Toncoin has, for whatever reason, been really, really up and down. I'm personally looking more into some of the short-term swing trades because I already have so many things I'm holding, long-term. Chronos, right? We saw this drop down to, I believe, maybe the sevens. I could be mistaken on that, but if you believe in Crow, which I do, I'm satisfied with my amount of holdings of CRO. I think I have about 12, maybe 13,000 holdings on that one. I don't see Dogecoin going back down to 5 cents unless we have another extreme crash. Clayton, how about this real quick, right? Put out that notice back on October 13th. We're about 3 weeks into it, right? 3 weeks since that moment. And of course, it's been fluctuating. We saw as high as I think 27, 28 cents since then for a bi-weekly swing trader. That's tremendous. I have not chosen to get into Clayton yet, even though I posted that. Don't get me wrong, there's ones I post, but you got to keep in mind I am also in a lot of different cryptos. But that is definitely one on my short list to get into and so on. Anyway, those are the ones I mainly wanted to point out. Oh, of course, sorry about that. Algorand, we did see it drop down to roughly 28 cents briefly, maybe even 26, just barely touched it, and now it's up to 12% up. All right, a little bit more. I'm going to show you guys my watch list just here briefly, part of it, not the whole thing, of course. Here's what's going on in the 1 hour. Is there going to be anything? A little bit. So I'm glad to see Half Pizza continually pumping. Do not recommend getting into it. Maybe if you're going to literally do a daily swing trade, consider it, because the last week has been doing all right. But then from there, I would not do a long-term hold on this particular one. I'm looking to get out as soon as it becomes profitable again. I should have took my profits last time around when it was up about $400. I'm looking to completely sell my entire bag of that. Again, I do not recommend getting into that whatsoever. And let's see some of the other ones. Let's post on the 24-hour. Proof of Means, shout out to Todd, aka Common Sense, our Common Sense, not to be confused with Rich. He pointed out basically that Proof of Memes was something I should have retweeted, so on and so forth, but it is pumping. I'm not gonna, nothing against him. I love Todd Common Sense and so on. It's just, I didn't take the time to research it, so I'm not gonna retweet something I don't know about or believe in. yet, but I would if I fully felt as though it was something good to get into and so on. And you guys do know me, I'm not a fan of the meme tokens to the exception of Dogecoin and Shiba Inu. A little bit more, you do, like I mentioned before, Telcoin. Oh, that I confused that with the other one. So this is Telcoin. This one's doing very, very well within the last couple weeks for sure. There's another one I wanted to point out. Obviously Clearpool went slightly up, but that's not the point. Where the heck was this? Oh, Voyager, right? So we saw this, I think, as low as 22 cents. It's up about 11.5%. Again, I just think it's kind of part of this whole relief rally thing. All right. Before I get into the actual news of what we've seen, for instance, posted on Wall Street Journal and other outlets, I'm going to go ahead and recognize what's going on with the chat with our community and then kick it back into that. See a few more people came in. Let's see here. So, Michael Montclair talking to Tim. Okay. How about this? Calvin, he states, you live in Arizona? Yes. Okay. You, as in Calvin, grew up there. You lived off of Peoria. What? I lived pretty close to there. Lived not too far from there. That's crazy. But not 35th. In the 43rd Avenue area, I should say. So I'm like right around the border of Glendale / Phoenix. Used to go hunting pheasants and just past Bell and 43rd. Back then, Bell Road was nothing but a dirt road and cotton fields. My dad used to tell me that. He was like, when we first moved here, my dad's like, hey, let's go out to Cave Creek. And we go out to Cave Creek and he's shocked. He's like, oh my gosh, I can't go hunting out here. It's all, it's all developed. So, yeah, that's crazy. Without getting too personal, where are you at now? All right. Michael Montclair, is Larry at the gym pumping iron? Larry's not at the gym pumping iron. Larry's attending a birthday party. So, for one of his kids. So, yeah. That's what he's doing. And, that makes sense. You got to make time for your family. So that's what he's doing. Charles Vinson clapping for everybody. I believe that's what that is. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Yeah. Thank you for joining us tonight, Charles. Everyone's saying hello to Charles. Michael Montclair, hopefully there's not any FUD on Chili's before the games. There could be. Let's face it. I mean, there's people that will FUD legitimate, not projects, but products, right? Because they're not as, for instance, hold on a second. Sorry about that. I had an interruption. Apologize. Anyway, let's see here. Yeah, people do, for instance, like to FUD just even ones that are good, solid products and projects as well. And it's just something they do. Mac is definitely hot right now. I think it's going to continue to be just that. Let me see. Give me just a second. I got to fix something real quick. My apologies once again. Nothing like getting interrupted in the middle of a broadcast. I'm just going to throw that out there. Anyway, Michael Montclair, Luna Classic will be #1 soon, very soon. Also, Vault V2 is going to soar soon. I hope so. I put in the whole thing finally about getting my Vault, and because I was before the deadline, which happened in April, and I got mine in March. I reached out I think to a few of you. Tim Shea pointed out that he got his during the V2 and not during the V1. That's good. I mean, but yeah, I'm kind of going through that, still waiting to hear back. But if anything, I'm probably going to have to reach out to him on Telegram and see about getting that accelerated. But anyways, yeah, thank you for that comment. Coochie Boy says, "What up, fam? Thank you for joining us here tonight." Tim Shea or Sir Shea, yes. Hello, Coochie Boy. Last comment before we kick things back into the actual news coverage for today on CTN. He states he's not in Banana Task Force Ape. Other than that, you won an NFT, okay, but their main dev sway left the project, something to be cautious about. Yeah, I've had it on my watch list for a while. Let me just take a brief moment. We'll touch on that a bit. I do want to recognize Salamander and your $5 super chat. He states max XDC at 926,000 as of today. Wow, man, you're almost there, that million. By now, when everything is on special, 74,000 more to go for the 1 million. I'm looking for money underneath sofa. Yeah, oh man, I DCA'd quite a bit into, for instance, Quant and a few other ones. Even made a new position, as getting in for the first time on some of these. So it was not necessarily in the ISOs, but some that I just was like, well, I guess you could say an ISO, right? Algorand and so on. But yeah, hats off to you for coming close to that million milestone. We'll have to definitely give you a big congrats when you do that. And again, thank you for the $5 super chat. I'm gonna go back to this real quick. This comment from Tim Shea. I'm gonna go ahead and share this with you. So let's pull up this whole thing with Banana Task Force Ape real quick. So basically, this is on my list. Hold on a second. That's because I'm on the watch list. My bad. Hold on a second. Let me pull it up. All right. There we go. So you see they're sitting at what's this? 36703093. What concerns me especially is, I mean, for one, yeah, the rank is like almost borderline where it's not going to even be listed anymore. But come on, man. I mean, look at this. $7 in volume, 93.7% down. They have nothing confirmed from them. Fully diluted market cap, right? Like a lot of times, people don't even focus on that, right? So 30,931. I mean, and then look at this. This is probably devs going in, taking, just briefly and draining liquidity. These are not natural looking charts. By the way, if you're new to this or you haven't really looked more into this yourself, these are big indicators that is literally going on. It's not anything looking natural. And not only that, I mean, you can kind of say, $7 in volume. Like, I'm not, of course, trying to flood anyone's bags or anything like that, but it's just, yeah, come on. It kind of speaks for itself. I mean, how can anybody take this thing serious right now? It's like kind of like having a moment of silence for the dead. Anyway, all right, stop sharing that. Kick it back in the comments just here briefly. Thanks again, Salamander, for the $5 super chat. Boomer F and Sooner states, howdy. Good to see you, Boomer. And let's see here. Max migrated to a different token recently. It's way down to the that's true too. I do apologize. That is the case. Yes, you're right. If it went to another contract, then yeah, that makes sense. Then I'll have to update myself on that. But okay, fair enough. I do apologize on that. But yeah, let me look more into that later. I'm not gonna do it right now because I don't want to keep focusing on a particular one. All right, so how about this? Soon, CTN yacht. Well, that'll be amazing. All right, let's kick things right back into, I'm going to start that, some of our coverage for the day. So this comes straight from the Wall Street Journal, and it's just this. You're going to keep hearing these particular things about what happened with Sam Bankman-Fried and so on. Some people kind of feel sorry for him because, I mean, he feels as though he effed up, as he would say. Other people feel as though, it's just a perfect case of irresponsibility. Whatever the case be, here's some of the particular news on it. And if anything, we're going to keep hearing more and more about this, and it's definitely going to be trending in the wrong direction. But nonetheless, it is top tier news when it comes to crypto news. So FTX, like it mentions, tapped into customer accounts to fund risky bets, setting up its downfall. FTX's chief executive told investors, as in Sam Bankman-Fried, this week, that an affiliated trading firm owes the crypto exchange about $10 billion. So, for instance, it says, what's next for crypto? I'm going to play this just here briefly. I'm going to share it, of course, in a way for you can obviously hear that a little bit better, because I don't want it to come all garbled across, to wherever you're listening from, a phone, headphones, you name it. But we're going to take a moment to hear this, and here we go.
Start with getting your sense of where we are. Some investors have compared the current crypto winter to the dot-com bust. I think Sam was like 8 years old then. So, but you were in tech very much. You'd been in tech for a while. You've experienced that and other booms and busts. What do you say to people about where we are now and where we're going?
I think we're absolutely in a down market period. That's to state the obvious. And look, I think when we say it in the investment business, anytime something seems too good to be true, it probably is. And I think the sort of speculative prices and the kind of unbelievable highs that lots of things in crypto and in other areas of technology went to, those were not realistic. And so in blockchain and crypto in particular, I think it's hard to sort of know exactly when we've hit bottom in terms of prices, but we're definitely in a downturn that's going to last for some period of time. But the other piece of it, we look at sort of activity on the blockchain, developers, users, transactions. And I'd say that the ecosystem and the rate of innovation is still actually quite healthy. And it didn't really suffer the same type of severe setback in starting in the beginning of 2022 that I would say, in the late 90s with the internet bust. In that cycle, the slowdown in actual underlying activity and development, the stoppage, it was much more significant.
You're saying the activity on some of these platforms is still pretty healthy. I mean, some of the numbers that people have seen, the NFT trading on OpenSea, or just trading volumes in the cryptocurrencies, is way down. What metrics are you looking at that you see?
Well, that's a good example. OpenSea is an example. If you really look at the NFTs that trade there, they are typically very high priced. I think on average, the price of an NFT, don't quote me, but I believe it's well over $1,000. All of the Bored Apes, those NFTs are tens of thousands. I mean, if you think about people who can afford those, really small portion of, a potential consumer audience. And so I do think that there maybe activity is down, but as an alternative that we've looked at, Magic Eden is a company we invested in. They also are a marketplace for NFTs, but they're for more affordable NFTs. So I think the average price for an NFT that launches or trades there, it's in, the sort of single digit dollars. And if you look at the activity on that marketplace, it's continued to steadily grow in 2022. And, to us, that really was sort of a signal of the fact that we're just in the early days of blockchain and crypto. And there are a lot of people who I think consumers who would like to take advantage of this type of technology or platform, but it's, been not that accessible to mainstream users, both because of, how the technology works, and also because of, generally the kind of pricing of some of the things that were early use cases.
Just real quick on that. I mean, most of us know.
All right, so I just wanted to play that just briefly. I mean, I realize that the main part of this is in regards to what's going on with FTX, but if anything, again, part of the main topic of today's show is basically recognizing, like, are we, in a bear market relief rally, or is it a fake out? Some of the comments that they brought up just there briefly, it kind of makes you think to yourself, well, there's going to be a little bit more in regards to this crash and so on, having a pullback. Is it going to be blast off after that? And when will that particularly happen? Is this going to continue weeks on end, months on end? Will the I guess you could say, will the bulls come back at the beginning of next year? Some of you guys have stated that no, it's not. It's going to happen in 2024 and so on. But if anything, we want to, of course, recognize what is going on in the market, and especially recognizing what's going on with these 4-year cycles. Again, look more into it. We covered it basically last weekend on a 2-part series. But anyway, I want to go ahead and pull up the chat just once again, because I'm trying to do the whole thing of 5 minutes in, 5 minutes out with the back and forth. Bitcoin Mania, hey, Luna Classic FOMO. Yes, I think that's a little bit what's going on. But thank you for pointing that out. And again, welcome Bitcoin Mania. Let's see here. Nice view from the roof. The roof of what? All right. Salamander, Rockefeller Center. It is awesome. All right. Boomer F and Sumer, let's put our money together. It would only take 1.363 billion to buy the circulating supply and burn it. We can do this. Thanks for pointing that out. In regards to Luna Classic and people showing you love. All right, so let's go ahead and kick it back. There we go. I'll highlight that one. There we go. Sorry about that. All right, so I'm gonna get more into today's coverage. So for instance, this is on to the next topic, and it is in regards to just like what you guys mentioned in the comments. Luna Classic. So Whales Club, you know, I've been following them for a while and so on. I know some of you guys do as well, but they did point this out, and it says, you know, the top gainers and so on. It shows, for instance, Maker is up 27%, but look at the two that are part of this mix. We obviously talk about Matic quite a bit here as well, rightfully so. A lot of us are into that, myself, you guys, and so on. But you know, Terra Luna Classics right up there as well. I'm glad that, you know, we're seeing other outlets, right, instead of just the normal traditional ones. Whales Club is definitely posting about that. On top of that, shout out to Classic Crypto. He posted this news not too long ago, I think roughly about 3 hours ago my time. It says, just in, Luna Classic's controversial $4.16 million proposal just took a big turn. This particular person, who, in the language of like Quake 3, if you ever played that back in the day, the 4s are basically like representing the word or the letter A as an Alex. But anyway, Alex Shaw of Terra Rebels proposes a solution of just burning the entire multi-sig wallet and creating, listen to this, a new on-chain Luna Classic dev wallet. He also proposes minting new Luna Classic to fund it. Now, I feel so it's really mixed on this particular proposal. Again, and it's just that it's a proposal. So me personally, I'm just stating, you know, I'm not necessarily for or against it, because originally I thought to myself, when we had the 1.2% and how long it took to get to that, and then that was implemented and it seemed like it was kind of working, and then obviously we went a different direction, went down to, was it 0.2%? I thought to myself, though, well, that was kind of like being counterintuitive or productive or where you want to call it. But then I was like, okay, it looks like this is kind of working. And then I see this particular one, and it's just kind of like thinking to myself, well, if we're minting new tokens, how is that going to work out? If isn't all the whole focus trying to burn, right, and so on? My thing is this: we'll have to wait and see. I want to hear, like you mentioned, more thoughts on that, because I am not either for or against it. I need to have a little bit more clarification on how this is all going to be. And let's face it, you know, a lot of times these proposals, they're definitely not unanimous. I do not see this being a unanimously passed one, or close to unanimous, right? A lot of times, you know, you get like maybe one who'll say, you know, a nay, say no to it. Want to know what you guys think in regards to this, your thoughts. Have you looked more into this for yourself? I realize it's new, obviously, about 4 hours ago, but even that thought of it, like, could it work out? Could it not? But if anything, it's more discussion. And if anything, it's good for Luna Classic. You want more people to bring thoughts, ideas to the table to get this thing going. We definitely need that to happen. Not necessarily with this proposal, but those ideas and possibly being implemented if it makes sense. All right, a little bit more in today's coverage with Luna Classic, and that is this. Straight from Terror Rebels, it states Terror Rebels Moonshot is back up. They're giving you guys a heads up on that. If you didn't know, for instance, it was some of these things were down, but it says still some time left to get tickets before the next Luna Classic launch. We apologize for any inconvenience and delay, but basically this portion that's on their site is back up, and that's a good positive thing, because if anything, you want more and more people to go here and use these particular things to their own benefit. So if I update you guys on that, there's some more news. This is from, of course, one of the top ambassadors, if you will, who is for instance, a Luna Classic validator. You guys know about him. You should. If you don't, then I don't know what to say. I mean, Happy Caddy Crypto posted this earlier. It says, support these kind of people. Luna Classic needs them. We burned 7,000 of our own revenue before it was cool. We saw a data issue. We built, for instance, the Luna Classic Penguins.com, LunkPenguins.com technically. We saw burn address scams. We built LUNC Blaze.com. Genuine creators like us are dying out while $1 meme creators excel. That's a very good point. I like how you basically got that across. Now, in regards to this, I'm going to blow this up for you. Pragmatic Builders says these are the most useful community members and the ones who actually get stuff done. They are, quote, pragmatic builders who have a long-term horizon. They are looking to build solutions for problems within the industry. They realize the paradigm shift is not really just around the corner, and things should first make sense in the Web3 sandbox. So I wanted to point that out to you as well. The next thing we're going to get into, of course, is what's going on with XRP, Ripple, you name it, with the SEC case, because it's going to come back to the comments just here briefly. And they're saying hello to the boomer. Who's the freaking sooner? All right, Tim Shea, they better not, man. Come on now. Again, I want to hear you guys' thoughts and concerns. That was my thing. It's just like, what's the whole point of having, massive burns? You're going to mint new things. I mean, anyway. Boomer F is sooner. If they burn that 4.16 million, it would raise the price from 0.0001917 to 0.0001923. So you'd be up basically $1 for every million tokens you have. Okay, thanks for explaining that. Minting would be dumb, says Boomer. The circulating supply has gone up 22 billion since August 1st. No more. Thank you again for pointing that out with the math and so on and the supply. Tim Shea, Classy and Crypto King did not even vote. All right, good point. I did not know that. But again, I did see that, he just, basically shared that not that long ago. And if anything, you wanted thoughts on that. Is the thoughts based on what he sees? He gets a lot of replies, let's face it, a lot of interaction. Maybe he's going to base that on a lot of the interaction and come to a conclusion if it makes sense. At the end of the day, I mean, is it kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like having a town hall, but with chat and text to a sense. Boomer F and Sooner. Yo, Coochie Boy. All right. Salamander. Voyager yet to sell assets to FTX, according to Voyager's official committee. Creditors, the recent approval allowing FTX to buy Voyager assets after winning an earlier action has not been consummated. Okay, thank you for pointing that out. Boomer F and Sooner, the McRib sucks. You know what? It used to be good. The last time I had one, it was kind of meh. It kind of makes me wonder if they added a bunch of what is it? I don't know. Some was a bioengineered stuff to it, right? The artificial stuff. I don't know, but I used to really like it, like maybe 20 years ago. And the last time I got one, it was okay at best, but I don't know. All right, Salamander, yes, it does. Boomer F and Sooner, math, yeah, math don't lie. Math doesn't have emotions, right? Anyway, all right, let's get more further into some coverage today, and let's pull it up right now. All right, so we were just talking about Luna Classic. We're now going, of course, into, for instance, our coverage with Ripple, XRP. So this, I actually posted this earlier today. I retweeted it. Some of you guys saw it, some of you didn't. That's okay. Congressman Tom Emmer just tweeted this on the relationship between Sam Bankman-Fried and listen to this, SEC Chairman Gary Gensler. Are you kidding me? Like, huh? Says interesting. And again, don't shoot the messenger here. I haven't been able to confirm everything. I didn't fact check it and all that type of stuff, but it does bring pause and make you think, is there a giant conspiracy going on here? I'm not big on conspiracy theories, to the exception of what happened with JFK, and I went to the JFK Museum and all that stuff. Long story. But I'm not really big on conspiracy theories, so I'm just throwing that out. But when I see things like this, it at least makes me think to myself and scratch my head and think, like, what the heck is really going on here, right? So it says, interesting, Gary Gensler runs to the media while reports to my office, as in Tom Emmer, representative, basically states, that allege he was helping Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX work on legal loopholes to obtain a regulatory monopoly. That's why I put out the thing about, this. I hopped on the bandwagon, Gary Gensler, hashtag Gary Gensler resign, I think is what's the movement that's been going on. I saw it trending. Thought I should share it. And like, Tom Emmer basically reports, we're going to look into this. And then, of course, was it Gary Gensler? He makes, was this a tweet or something? He says, I'll be joining Andrew Sorkin on Squawk at CNBC at 8 a.m. Eastern to discuss recent developments in the crypto markets. It's crazy stuff. I mean, for instance, when you think about with stocks, for instance, you're not supposed to have any insider trading. But where I'm going with this? It seems kind of, as Larry would say, it behooves me. All right. A little bit more in regards to all this. There's also this. A little bit more. A lot of us, of course, follow James K. Filan, I should say, is how you're supposed to pronounce it, I guess. But anyway, he's been killing it with his coverage. He's a former defense lawyer, former federal prosecutor. If you don't happen to know this, like you mentioned, is not legal or financial advice. But he continuously will post anything regarding the whole Ripple case and so on. So, states, hashtag XRP community. This particular person, who is Stuart Alderodi, who is the general counsel at Ripple. He has over 35 years of legal experience, of course, with expertise in regulatory affairs and complex litigation. Bottom line, like it mentions, he's part of that legal team. Has basically called out the failures of Gary Gensler again, and rightfully so, right? Quote, Chair Gensler has failed time and time again to actually protect anyone, but keeps crowing about Kim Kardashian while the lines in bankruptcy courts grow longer for consumers. This insanity must stop. I agree with that, because if anything, he wanted to pick a celebrity, let's face it, whether you're for her or not, and basically, what transpired, what I mean? And I just think it's ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous at the point. So there's a little bit more on this. This is, of course, straight from his original tweet, Stuart Alderodi. Hopefully I can believe it, but I'm sorry, blow that up. It says the only runway, let me pause that real quick. It says the only runway running out, the only runway that's running out is these worn out and falsely talking points from SEC Chairman Gary Gensler. His insistence on elevating the SEC's quest for power over effective regulation is this country is creating deep financial damage. And again, like what shows right here, I think that investors need better protection in this space. It's a field that's significantly non-compliant, but it's got regulation, says SEC Chairman Gary Gensler. And of course, I'm not going to really play this particular part because it's just in reference to what was basically mentioned. But that's my whole takeaway. It's just like, this guy needs to resign at this point. I mean, a lot of people, especially in crypto, I mean, we don't like him and so on, and that's, he don't care. But I mean, that's not the point. The point is, if this ends up being true, then, and it's been confirmed, then yeah, he needs to be done with. He needs to be gone. They need to throw out the Ripple case and so on. There's a little bit more in regards to this particular coverage. Let me pull that up. Again, this comes from James K. Filan. And like it shows right here, some positive news, right? So it says the Sports Economy Institute, NSEI, has filed a motion to file an amicus brief in support of the SEC. And we outlined here at CTN before just that. It first started, for instance, you saw, for instance, an amicus brief with the likes of Coinbase, and I felt as though, and I pointed out before on the show, that this was literally going to be the start of other amicus brief filings. You're literally seeing it right here, and I do apologize. I will restate that, not the Coinbase one. Technically speaking, it was, if you guys remember, can't remember the exact name of the company, but it was the one that was basically like Uber for private charter jet flights, right? They started the whole thing, and then after that, of course, we saw the whole thing with Coinbase. So I wanted to get that chronologically correct. But again, this would now technically be the third one from some of these quote-unquote big players. Obviously, the one from the charter flights is not as big of a player as Coinbase, but nonetheless, I think we're going to continuously see this. There's going to be more and more support for just that. If you want to read more about this, for instance, there, you can basically go to this. You can read, this actual legal document to Judge Torres. You can look more into it for yourself. A little bit more on our coverage. Let's see here. That's not it. So it's right here. But before we get into that, I, of course, want to keep a good balance. I'm going to go ahead and jump back into the comments. So let's see here. Next comment is from Coochie Boy, just saying hello to Boomer, of course, which is good. Tim Shea, they better not mint. Come on now. And Boomer effing sooner. He says if they burn that 4.6 million, 16 million, it would raise the price from what you mentioned. I think I already read that one. Yeah. Minting would be dumb. The circulating supply has gone up 22 billion since August 1st. No more. I think I did read some of these. Man, I must have lost my. Yeah, I did. Sorry about that. All right. Yeah, the McRib is messy. It was good back in the 80s. All right. I liked it, I guess you could say 20 years ago too, but 20 years ago wasn't the 80s. All right. So I'm going to pull this back up. It's a short clip. Let me get it up there for you guys. Give me a second. Here it is. Here we go. All right. So it says, this is from 801 XRP, Gary Gensler resigned. It says, Ripple XRP fam, Giant Carlo Marcus basically states, quote, it's fine to say we got plenty of statues. Let me fix that. Yeah, plenty of statues on the books, but they were written in the 1930s for an analog paper world, not a digital world. And I really liking that, other people are pointing this out. Like, for instance, when you think of what's going on with ISO 222, again, the old the old Swift system from that started off in like the 1970s and so on. It's not that, Swift in itself is being replaced. It's, again, the technology that's being upgraded. It's not like, a bunch of Swift employees are going to get fired and Swift got sold to, XYZ company and so on. It's not like it. Again, it's an upgrade. I'm glad that you have people like this particular person pointing out just that. Think about, even with television sets, right? Going from, analog cable to, for instance, digital cable, is technology, and especially when what's going on with the financial sectors of the world. And oh, by the way, say what you want, but even the old system with analog cable, when you used to flip the channels, think how quick that was. When you flip a channel nowadays, yeah, it's loading up so much more information. Can you imagine? Just hear me out. If Ripple, maybe I'm coming up with a good idea. Anyway, if Ripple has tremendous transactions per second, right, blazing fast, for that to happen, maybe somebody should enter the cable television space, but with blockchain technology with the likes of Ripple. Maybe Ripple should do that, because I mean, man, sometimes I just think to myself, when I'm flipping that darn channel, I don't have cable anymore, but when I did, it just took too long for the channel to load up, right? We need some XRP for cable television. Anyway, let me blow this up real quick. We're going to listen to this. It's only about a minute 15, but the guy hits the nail on the head, and then we'll be back.
He's demonstrated the approach to doing that. And I'd like to see regulators the world over realize that this isn't going away. This is only going to continue to grow. And what we need to do is get the policy response to be intelligent, thoughtful, bespoke. It's a word that means tailored to this innovation. You know, it's fine to say, well, we got plenty of statutes on the books, but they were written in the 1930s. They were written for an analog papered world. They weren't written for a digital world. You know, when the airlines overtook rails as the means of transportation, we didn't apply, railroad traffic signals to airplanes in the sky. We came up with new aeronautics and aviation rules for flying. It's still transportation, same activity, but different rules. Sometimes the same activity requires different rules because the technology is different. And so in this case, I think we've got to come up with a legal and regulatory compliance framework that's tailored to crypto, not simply say, come in and see us and we'll let you know what the rules are, or else we'll sue you and tell you what the rules are. I think we've got to be willing to expand our openness. One of my favorite authors is he's demonstrated the approach to doing that. And I'd like
of the litigation has completed. Now we're in what's called expert discovery. The court just granted the SEC a delay of expert discovery into January, which again, we find frustrating. Just like, hey, let's.
My goodness, was I muted? I think I was. Sorry about that. Hold on a second. Yeah, my bad about that. Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button. Sometimes it's sensitive. I do apologize. All right. What I was going to share with you guys is just this. Hold on a second. I just kind of bumped that on accident. I always got to look down to see what's going on. I apologize. All right. This right here. Okay. Here it is. And I'm not muted. So if anything, it's this, and it states, it says, warning, grand conspiracy. Shout out to all the Twitter sleuths, XRP community, and so on. Again, it's just kind of reflecting upon what's happened in the past, because let's face it, it's been a crazy week for just that. Some of these conspiracies, and why did this happen with FTX, and the whole thing, for instance, with Gary Gensler, and some of the reports that we just basically shared with you guys. So if anything, listen to what Brad Garlinghouse has to say in regards to all of this. Again, I realize, like it mentions the whole thing about DC FinTech, and this is a while back, but if anything, it pounds it home even that much more on some of the comments that you're going to hear from Brad Garlinghouse. It's about 1:39, and then we'll be right back.
Let's make progress here. Well, look, Twitter has had an interesting, in my judgment, role that I have never seen before, because there are some amazing people out there, which I'll just generically call the Twitter sleuths, and they have found, videos of, people at the SEC, whether it's Jay Clayton or Director Bill Hinman, or more recently, the new chair, Gary Gensler, whom you had on this morning, saying things like, hey, that the status isn't clear, or saying, hey, 75% of the market of crypto is not securities. This is a quote from Gary Gensler, that now saying, well, no, he views most of it, if not all of it, as a security. So I think it's clear that the market has not had clarity. I think it's that is certain. You and I talked very briefly back, kind of the proverbial backstage, and almost 2 years ago to the day, you had Jay Clayton on stage at DC FinTech Week in person, one of the last events. And I was on about an hour later. So I was in the room and someone asked Jay Clayton, hey, what's the status of XRP? Is it a security? And he didn't answer the question. More recently, Gary Gensler won't answer the question, is ETH a security? And look, if these laws are so clear, then let's just say the answer to those questions. If they're not clear, let's say they're not clear, and let's make them more clear.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, this was back in 2021, but I mean, if you think about everything that's going on right now, the SEC simply wants to pick and choose based on, let's face it, I hate to say it, in my humble opinion, is this a conspiracy? Is it based on their own politics? Could very well be the case, right? All right, a little bit more in tonight's coverage, but before we go ahead and do that, I'm going to go ahead and jump back into the comments just here briefly. Hold on. I do see that you guys sent me a super chat, $2 saying no sound. Yeah, sorry about that. I really try not to do that, but it does happen once in a while. And if anything, I'm going to try to maybe put some other things in to give me some kind of alert to let me know that. But I'm going to look more into that. Might not happen overnight, but I am going to try to do a better job in regards to that. I do apologize. How about this? Tim Shea, they better not make. Come on now. Yeah. All right. These are the ones I read before. I apologize. Let me go further down. Here we are. April Cornwell. She states, hey, Max Flowers. Hope your day has been good. I feel like the moon cycles got me all weird, but I am here to say, hey. Well, thank you so much. How about this? Speaking of moon, right? So when this whole thing dropped about FTX, Binance, the whole 9 yards, even Solana in the mix, right? For instance, let me double check that. God, now I'm all paranoid over the mute button. But there was a blood moon, right? That particular day when that all started happening, and it was just crazy. It's just like crazy things going on. Anyway, Salamar, yeah, you guys are all letting me know there's no sound. Going further down. All right. Yoo-hoo, yeah, I know. All right. Brutini saying, all right, here we go. And you guys welcome each other. All right, I'm going to get things into a little bit more of the coverage tonight. Kind of a weird day for attendance in crypto and so on, but that's okay. I noticed there's some other shows currently airing as well. So there's a little bit of, competition, if you will, for viewers, but that's okay. Let's see here. We have this right here. Hold on, let me pull it up. And it's into our next topic. Believe it or not, it is XLM, Stellar Lumens. So here it is. Some new news from Stellar. I thought I would go ahead and point this out. So this comes from at Swiss Stellar, who is Stellar Lumens, like a community type person / it's just a guy kind of just likes to report on it, right? I go ahead and give him a follow because I did appreciate his news clip. So it says, while everybody is panicking, Stellar is delivering this week. And boy, are they ever. Listen to this. The first regulated Japanese yen stablecoin, which is Gwen or G Yen, is now available on Stellar. They are hiring like crazy. Now, before I go into more about this on the hiring aspect of things, I want to point this out. To me, this is a big win. This gives me, I guess you could say, a little bit of the hopium, right? But realistic hopium, right? Not that garbage from some of the, dog crappy news that are out there. So on. So as you guys know, I myself am I hold a bag of, for instance, Jasmine. Shout out, of course, to Michael Cornwell, who gave me more information about Jasmine. I've actually known about Jasmine on KuCoin a while back when they had insane staking rewards at the brief time. It was like going back maybe for like a month or so. All right. It was over 100% APY. That's when I first heard about Jasmine. But good thing I didn't get it in at that time, because at that time, this was before, of course, the whole thing that happened with the regulation. And Jasmine was, it was pretty, I shouldn't say it was super expensive, but it was a lot more than what it is right now. So if anything, yeah, the staking rewards were retracted, but I would have got wrecked on the price, the entry point is what I'm trying to say. So that's all I knew about it, right? And then, one thing I noticed was like the logo kind of looked like Bitcoin because, with the yellow and so on, but, and that's about it. That's all I knew. I didn't research it more. Then, of course, Mike Cornwell was telling me, he's like, literally, it's like, Japan's Bitcoin. And I thought to myself, I'm going to take a chance on this. So about a little over 100,000 of that particular one. Now, the point I'm trying to make is, like, for instance, Mike holds some of these. I think he has more than I do, which is fine. A lot of people hold a lot more things than I do. But when you see this, for instance, first regulated Japanese yen stablecoin, I'm thinking to myself, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Because, for instance, when I see that this is now available on Stellar, I feel as though that this is the gateway for getting these things going. Now, I get it. Seems like, Japan is maybe in some cases worse than the United States when it comes to their crypto policy and so on. Like they're kind of like borderline anti-crypto, let's face it. But now when you see things like this, it at least gives me more hope, thinking, well, maybe within a few years' time, they will draw back some of this anti-crypto policies they have and so on, and then the likes of Jasmine come back. Because if Jasmine comes back, I'm like, let's face it, Ripple's XRP comes back, it's gonna be huge. Jasmine was basically at $4 plus at one point, and for a person like myself, come on, man, over 100,000 of that, I'd be like 400. Boom, it gets back up to the all-time highs and surpasses that. Let's just say even comes close, halfway to all-time highs, $2. I'm cool with the extra couple $100,000. Who isn't? All right. So the next part of today's news piece, with all the firings that you've been hearing going on, and by the way, shout out to Tim Shea. We both agree on this on our DMs. A lot of us follow Washer Guru, right? Typically speaking, I'm not going to bash community-driven outlets, right, to provide news, but they've just been reporting on anything and everything, especially negative news, just to do it. And like Tim Shea pointed out, what was the whole thing with was it Coinbase firings? Basically, it was a 1.2, not 1.2%. That something burns. It was like 1.5%. Anyway, roughly around the 1%. What do you freaking do? That makes news headlines on Watcher Guru. Anyway, with all the bad news of firings and so on, right? Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. How about this for one? Stellar Development Foundation, current job openings, right? And they've been just doing it. They're announcing just that they're hiring. Why? Because they are definitely one that shines and stands out ahead of the pack. So anyway, I just kind of want to report that, I should say. My key takeaway was this is a good, positive catalyst, at least for the country of Japan, and especially those, in my humble opinion, if you hold Jasmine, you now see the light at the end of the tunnel. At least that's how I feel about it. Let me know what you think about this. All right, a little bit more in regards to today's coverage. This is also, I believe, from XLM. But before we get into that, we're going to kick it back into the comments just here briefly. And it's April Cornwell. She says, been good. Girly, long day with the kiddos. Glad to be settled. Max P says, hello to everyone. Hello to Max P. It's another wild day. Yes, it is. We're going to share one last thing with you guys, and then I'm just going to briefly look at maybe like a Luna Classic for a moment, and then we'll probably end up wrapping the show up after that. But nonetheless, check out this particular piece. Give me a second. Here it is. There we go. All right. So this comes straight from Digit Hustle Network. And he's the host of Digit Hustle Network, where if the money is digital, so is the hustle. Digit Hustle Crypto Journal, now available on Amazon. Shout out to you, sir. All right. He states, yet people still sleep on XLM. At the end of the day, the crypto that will survive will create products that help people thrive. Stellar does just that, basically. And then there's this. This was posted about 2 hours ago. It says, glad to hear so many people talking about real-world utility this week. Last month, Danielle Dixon closed Meridian 2022 with exactly this message, which has been our focus since day one. And where it starts off, it mentions what it means to be trusted and trustless. It's only 48 seconds, but she nails it. Let's take a moment to hear that, and then we'll be right back.
Gotta build products that people need and want to solve problems that they actually have. And when we look at this network and we look at this ecosystem, we are all working together to do something good. We talk about at SDF using blockchain, using Stellar for good. It doesn't mean that you all have to have the same mission, but the thing is, we're solving problems. We're solving real world problems that people have in all of these different geographies across the world. That's what it means to use this technology for good. We are helping to solve financial access. Even if that is not the mission of your company, that is what we are doing with this technology. And all of you have that challenge too.
All right. So, I mean, yeah, she kind of points out the obvious and so on. But if anything, my key takeaway is you want to hear confidence. You want to hear trust, especially, let's face it, in these trustless times with everything that's been going on in this crazy world and everything that's been everything that has been transpiring or has transpired within the last few days, especially with the FTX. You get the point. Last but not least, in regards to concluding today's coverage on Stellar XLM, I want to go ahead and share this with you guys. Give me just a second. And that is basically some figures that we see right here. So check this out. And this comes straight from Stellar Data Feed. It's really something else when you think about it. So it says Stellar stats for November 10th, as in just today. Transactions done so far, at the time it was posted, probably doing a lot more. 2,669,062. Operations, 11,415,904. 4.28 OPS / TX average. Average TX cost. Listen to this. After all of those transactions and all those operations that happen, 0.002697 XLM. Now, the reason why I want to point this out is basically just this. You see where we're going with the whole thing with ISO 222 and so on. Literally, Stellar could very well become, like, let's face it, the world's digital currency, right? In the future, maybe not so far away, right? But when you see all those transactions and operations happening, and that cost was just fractions of a penny, literally, right? Not even a penny, way, way below that. I think, if anything, one of my key takeaways is this is how we get to widespread adoption, both retail and, like we mentioned, from the financial side, because it is so cost efficient I mean, that was nothing. So, yeah, I get it. You know, when we increase this to the billions mark, what? We add a zero to this? Possibly. I have done the math with that. But my conclusion is even when this gets to some of the monumental ones where we're transferring trillions, we're still going to be fine. And that is really, really encouraging, especially if you're into crypto. So, with that said, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and read the rest of the comments, wrap up today's show. And if anything, I think that's it. The last comment of the day is from Max P. And I'm going to read one more, and it's from Larry. He says, "What's good, peeps? Probably just checking in. You got to keep in mind he's at a birthday party. But guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end today's show. Can't thank you guys enough for being here and supporting CTN. Thanks for joining us here on this Thursday night. Stay tuned tomorrow for our Friday coverage. And everybody, have a blessed night. We'll see you tomorrow. Over and out for now.